Video encoders firing ones and zeros. Internet stream, streaming. The most technology advanced radio show is on the air. Here's the captain of this enterprise, Steve Malzberg.
And welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. Ladies and gentlemen, joining us now is a man who I've talked to many, many times. He is former congressman from the district I used to live in, good old Bay Ridge, and, of course, Staten Island, right across the bridge into Staten Island in New York. We welcome in Vito Fossella. Hello, sir.
Hi, Steve. How you doing today?
Good. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and all that.
Thank you. Same to you.
Now, there's all kinds of speculation. I'm looking at a report here at Sylvie.com, which is a Staten Island website for news from Staten Island, that says it's possible that you might be reseeking your old seat now held by Republican Michael Grimm. Is that true?
Well, yeah, it's true to the extent that there are reports out there. I've been asked, over the last few years about reconsidering and considering running again for office, in particular Congress, that I was privileged to serve and represent, as you mentioned, the great people of Staten Island and parts of Brooklyn. And what I've frankly said, I'm on a very good spot in my life. The things that are important to me are in good shape. And as much as I am, for lack of a better word, flattered and humbled by the requests, I have no plan to seek a return to public office, and specifically that of Congress. And I guess it was in the last week, it sort of took a different turn when a local reporter was asking whether the rumors were true about elected officials, and others asking me, and I frankly said, yes, they have, in Staten Island and in New York and some in D.C., but I have no plan. I'm not saying I've considered public service to be among the more noble callings. That's the reason why I got into it to begin with. I was first elected to the city council in Staten Island and then Congress, and it was a great privilege, a great honor, and in a way to help and shape the policy of this great country. I thought it was wonderful. So I always still applaud those who decide to go into the public arena, those who try their best, try to govern and keep this country strong and free. And perhaps one day down the road I would reconsider, but for now, it's more about just serving my state, my country, and my community in my own little way.
All right. So, of course, you would have to, if you were going to do it for 2014, you would have to know it by now, correct, and start it. So you're ruling out a 2014 challenge to Michael Grimm. Is that accurate?
Well, it's not that I'm planning on it, but I would say I don't think it's necessary to decide, frankly, today or next week or next month.
Okay, all right.
So I don't think that's a prerequisite to deciding. But I want to be clear, there is no plan.
Okay. And do you believe that, I have personally some issues with Michael Grimm. I think he ran as a staunch conservative and has voted and governed far to the left of that. Do you have problems with his votes in the House? Is that what might make you consider this, or is making you consider this?
Well, if I were to decide to run, whether it be against the incumbent or, frankly, for any office, it would be, do I think that I could make a positive difference and best reflect and represent the views of the people I seek to represent? In other words, for the sake of argument, if I were to decide to run for Congress, it would be that I just thought I could do the best job, regardless of who's on the other side. So it's not that I want to start picking and choosing or deliberating about anyone's voting record. It's a question of, am I prepared, or would I be prepared to do it in such a way that the people could sort of look to me as somebody who can do the job the best. I think that's, anybody running for office should always look at it that way, as opposed to when I've come across people throughout my life. I've been around politics for quite a while. Not everybody goes into it for the right reasons. I give them credit for trying, but not everyone, I think, goes in it for the right reasons, and that would be the only reason I would do so.
We're talking to a former Congressman, Vito Fossella, Republican, formerly of New York delegation, here on the Steve Malzberg Show. And it's interesting you said the people of Staten Island. This online publication, which is Silive.com, is running an online poll. And the last time I checked, over 81% of the people, when asked, would you vote for Vito Fossella, said yes, as opposed to the 18% who said no. So that's, that's got to mean something, correct?
Well, it's very nice to sort of hear and to see and to know. And I've been blessed throughout my life, living on Staten Island and getting to know so many folks and thinking I try to make a difference while I was in office. So that's very humbling to hear, and it's not going to be. It's better than the other way around. Let's put it that way.
Sure.
But it's still not going to put me in a position now to do it. All I can say is I'm grateful to the people who elected me all those years and still, I guess, stand by me, and still. Would like to see me re-enter the public arena.
All right, let's talk about making a difference. If you were in the House right now, where would you be positioned? Would you have voted for this budget agreement? Would you be, one of those who had favored battling the president over the debt ceiling and the budget previously, a few months ago? Where would you fit in right now?
I would say, without getting to, again, specific votes, because I remember being in Congress, I probably cast over 10,000 of them. It's just that I always look at it as, people elect individuals to exercise their judgment and stick to a particular set of principles or philosophy. And I try to do that in the 3 years in the council and almost 12 in Congress. I believed in the free enterprise. I believed in limited government. I believe that individuals, when left to their own, strengths and values, really make this country great. And the great answers and the great solutions in this country lie and rest and are vested in the people of Staten Island and Brooklyn and across the country, as opposed to the big decision makers in Congress or in Washington, D.C. So I would just sort of say that when possible, I would vote for lower tax rates. When possible, I would seek pro-growth economic policies. When possible, would keep this country strong and free of radical elements who, we saw, for example, on 9/11, wanted to take this country down, and we recognize that this country is still the last bastion of freedom and opportunity. So whenever those sort of issues or votes come before me, I would look at it through that prism. And I guess on balance, I still think that when the American people have money in their own pocket, they spend it more wisely than people in Washington, D.C.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about Obamacare. Do you believe that that there will be a sea change? I mean, more seats gained in the House and a takeover of the Senate based on this? What is your opinion of what we've seen so far, way beyond just the computer fiasco?
Well, this is an extension of my sort of view, and I spoke out about this years ago, is that when you seek to take over 1/6, 1/7 of the economy of a few people, by the way, many of whom wouldn't even be able to run a hospital, and then say, but they're going to be responsible for putting in all these rules and regulations and a bureaucracy that could crush the Titanic, that this is what we're ending up with. So, it's coming to those who sort of fought, not just stood, but fought against it. Those folks are being proven right. And I think what's happened now in the last few months is the American people are seeing in plain view what a sort of disaster it's become. And I think as a result, there's no one who can stand up and say this is working and working well. And that's going to have an effect because elections have consequences. People who stood behind this law are now running away from it. And I think what needs to happen between this time and next year is figure out how to best make this problem less of a problem for the American people. I know it's been run over and over and over about people who had their coverage and now lost it. Those folks are, sadly, some of them who supported this new law, I'm sure are regretting it right now, and it's a shame.
No, without a doubt. And, of course, you know, Congressman, that next year they're talking about, by this time next year, there'll be 100 million of us possibly in this boat who are, you know, panicking and getting cancellation notices and have to go on the website and get insurance where the average deductible, they say, is now $5,000. See, that's one word that people, especially young people, have no idea that it even exists. What's a deductible? And you could get insurance as a youngster for, you know, oh yeah, cell phone bill, $30, $50, but you're gonna have to pay the first $5,000 of your expenses out of your own pocket, and they have no idea about this.
Yeah, and it goes. You're right. It's manifested in those little not little things. It's manifested in people's lives every day. People who are worried about, you know, saving for their kids' college tuition, or perhaps buying a second home, or perhaps getting a new car. You know, then that money becomes fungible. So when that money is eaten up by these new laws and new, you know, monstrosities, it starts to hurt people. And I think that's the message that really resonates most clearly and convincingly. In addition to, obviously, the notion that people just want to be free and enter into decisions that are best for them and their families, along comes this concept and contraption that smothers them and basically limits their choices, limits their options, and starts to adversely affect their families when they did nothing wrong. You know, they go to school, they go to work, some families working 2 and 3 jobs, just to do what's right, and along comes this big arm of government into their homes and saying, we want $5,000, you know, even though they did nothing wrong. And I think that's the big apology that needs to be given to the American people right now.
Absolutely. It's a horrific redistribution of wealth, and they know exactly what they're doing. All right, listen, this has been a great conversation. I know if and when you do announce, we'll be hearing from you, if not first, then at least second. And I want you to have a great holiday and Merry Christmas, and we'll talk to you soon, sir.
Have a great Christmas and a Happy New Year, Steve. Always a pleasure to be with you.
Thank you, Vito. Take care.
So much.
That's Vito Fossella, ladies and gentlemen. Good guy. And whether or not he runs again, we shall see. Now, this is me talking, not Vito. I have lots of problems with Grimm. Certainly, I supported Grimm when he was running, when I was doing my show over at WOR Radio at the time. I supported him big time, had him on the show lots of times, had him on the show after he won. And then he started, you know, moving way, way, way away from the way he ran, in my opinion. And, you know, I'd have him on, and then, you know, we would discuss afterward with callers the interview that we had. And he or someone he knew was listening and didn't like that I was talking about him after the interview was done. Well, you know, that's what talk show hosts do. You know, we talk about current events. You know, I had one columnist, Ruben Navarrete, who wrote a column about our interview on the show. And then I started talking about the column, and then he accused me of talking about him behind his back. Everybody I'm talking about on this show, I'm talking about behind their back. I mean, and when he wrote about me behind my back, if you want to go that way. So, you know, it's crazy. So Grimm doesn't like me anymore because, you know, I talked about him behind his back. I don't know what the sensitivity is if you're a public official. People are going to talk about you when you're not sitting in front of them. Anyway, neither here nor there. It's somewhere, though. All right, we're coming back, ladies and gentlemen. Final segment of the Steve Malzberg Show, and you're not going to want to miss it. I promise you that. So keep it tuned right here. Steve Malzberg Show, Newsmax TV, I had to think, and radio.